Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Yolanda here, and today I'm talking about my Black Eastern Shore project. So I've been mentioning this for the past month or so that I am working on this project, but I haven't told you, all the details about it. So back in December, well, first let's start from the very beginning. Back in September, I was at a community day in Pawntown, and you may have seen this video on my channel. Pawntown is a small, historically Black town in Queen Anne's County, and it's where my maternal families are from. The region where my maternal. So my grandmother and my maternal grandmother and my maternal grandfather both have family who live in this area. Anyway, went to the community day and I started asking questions like, why is the park named, the park is named Pinckney Park. Pinckney is the surname of my grandfather's father's family. So we know the park is named for our family, but I didn't know why. So I started asking, why is the park called Pinckney Park? How did it come to be? What's the history of this park? And I found out through asking and talking to some folks that the land for the park was donated by the Downs family, who are related to us. They're cousins. I'm going to say cousins because I don't know the direct relationship, but everybody's your cousin. But we are related to them through my grandfather's family. So basically they donated the land for the park, and then they named it in honor of my grandfather's family. They don't know exactly why. So at the time, everybody was telling me to go talk to Miss Janie Downs, but she had already left by the time I got that information. I should have started asking questions as soon as I got there, had I known. Long story short, so while we were sitting there anyway, I'm like, what's the history of Pawntown? Like, I know they handed out a little flyer and it had like some history on it and like a list of like probably almost 100 names maybe of families from Pawntown. I'm just like, I never heard all these names before. Like, what's the history of this town? Went to my phone, tried to Google it. Of course, there was no information there about it, besides like the geographical information. It's located in this county at this longitude and latitude, it borders this town. That's it. No history. The history that comes up is about Chestertown, which is the next largest, city, but it's really just a big town. And it's also, Chestertown is in Kent County. So because it's not far from there, Google gives you all this information about Chestertown. Maybe Pawntown used to be included in Chestertown. I don't know why. But basically, there's no history online. There's no history in the park, any signs or markers about the history of the park. And many people don't seem to know why. Like, we know it's named after us, but everybody knows that, but we don't really know why. So I still have to get in contact with Miss Janie Downs, and hopefully she can tell us the story of how the park came to be named Pinckney Park. So that was the very beginning. After that day, I was like, this story is so common that it's not even funny. It's sad because, I know of several Black communities around the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I know a little bit. Well, I can't even say I know a little bit. All I know is that these are communities where Black people live, and they have lived for a long time. But I don't know how they were formed, why they're in the locations they're in. I don't know all the people who live in those communities. So I said to myself, and I didn't just say to myself, ancestors also said to me, you're gonna tell this story. You're gonna document the history of these towns and figure out who we are and why we're here and how we're all connected to each other. So that was the beginning in September. I wasn't planning on saying anything about this project until 2020, probably, Black History Month now, February. But I just couldn't get it out of my head, and so I ended up making sort of an announcement at the end of December, and I made an Instagram account called the Black Eastern Shore. Go follow us. I'm just announcing that I'm doing this project and putting it out there into the world. The response was good, and now I'm in the thick of it. It's no turning back. So one of the reasons why I decided to do a 30-day detox was because I needed to focus on doing some preliminary research and organizing myself for this project. Like, how am I gonna pull this off? What do I need? Where am I going? Who do I have to speak to? So I've been doing some research to see what scholarship, what has been written about this region first off, and also preparing research for grants that I will be applying to. So I'm hoping to get funding to really tell this story completely and produce a book and a website and all types of resources for the Black Eastern Shore, for our community, so that we have these things for a long time, so that, you know, the people, to honor, you know, our ancestors, our community ancestors who have already passed on, to allow those of us who are still living, elders in particular, to see their story told, hopefully before they pass, but also so that future generations know who we are, know why we're here, how we came to be in this region. I mean, 50 years from now, how do I know that they're gonna actually remember why this park exists? I mean, to be very honest with you, that town in particular, Pond Town, is being gentrified. Fewer and fewer Black families still live there, and other families are moving in. So it's very possible in the near future that no one might not even know that Pond Town was a historically Black community. So yeah, I'm doing it for the future also, so that generations coming up know their history, know our history. But like I said, I'm applying for funding, but even if I don't get any funding, I'm still gonna complete this project. You know, I'll use my own money, my own resources, and, you know, the connections that I have to get it done. The money's not the issue. This is a passion project. It's a project that I love. You know, it's a gift that I want to give my community. For the next 2 years, I calculate it's probably going to take me about 2 years to bring this all together. This is going to be my work. My work is going to focus primarily on the social networks of our community, because I feel like those are the most important to understand, and the social networks are the foundations or the pillars of our community. So churches, schools, and other social organizations like the Elks Lodge, American Legions, social clubs, motorcycle clubs. All of these institutions are what connect our communities. Churches probably being the oldest of all of these connectors. So I'll be focusing on that. I'm going to be looking at 5 counties. So the Eastern Shore has 9 counties. I will be looking at Caroline County, Dorchester County, Kent County, Queen Anne's County, and Talbot counties. These are the main counties that, you know, I'm aware of, where my family comes from, and many of the other families that I know were connected through these 5 counties. So that will be where my research focuses on. One, because the most northern county on the Eastern Shore is Cecil County, and there's a very small Black population there. And then the lower Eastern Shore is made up of Wycomico, Worcester, Somerset. However, the 2 universities that we have on the shore are both located in on the lower Eastern Shore. So there's a lot more research that exists on the lower Eastern Shore than it does on the upper Eastern Shore, I guess. So that's the region. I'm also focusing on the 20th century because I wouldn't say nothing. There hasn't been much research done on this period of time. A lot has been written about the Civil War, Reconstruction, of course, slavery, colonial times. A lot has been written about those periods regarding the Eastern Shore, because Maryland's Eastern Shore has played such a pivotal role throughout American history. So a lot has been written about that, but not as much has been written about the 20th century, the most recent century that we just passed through. So it's time to start documenting and learning about what we did as a community during this time period. So that will be the focus. I will be visiting a lot of public libraries, historical societies, courthouses, the university libraries, and of course, people, the families, to, you know, gather the information that I need to tell this story. I also may be traveling across the bridge to the other side of Maryland, where our capital is Annapolis, to visit the Maryland State Archives, the Maryland Historical Society, and the Maryland Historical Trust, and if need be, go to the National Archives in DC. In addition to all the information and data that I'm collecting from these sources, going back to the families, I will be doing oral histories, collecting oral histories from community members, particularly the elder ones, but, you know, whoever has some information to share, I'm willing to listen to them and record them. So the oral histories will augment all of the research that I collect. And of course, I'm going to be taking a lot of photographs of the places that still exist and trying to find historical, you know, references so that people can see, you know, how the community developed over time. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what I discover, excited to get out and start talking to people and meeting people. I'm going to be starting in March. Once to come back from my trip to Kansas. But really, it's never going to stop, because even while I'm in Kansas, I'm going to be doing some research, taking some books with me while I'm there. So in honor of Black History Month, I wanted to share 7 books that I found written by Black Eastern Shore natives, not just from Maryland, but some from Delaware also. But I wanted to share some books that you can start reading to help you learn about our history. Number 1 is a popular book. Many of us have probably read this already. It is Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, by Frederick Douglass. It's his autobiography. It was published in 1855 and tells his life story from his birth here in Talbot County, what his life was like as an enslaved person, how he escaped, and how he became the abolitionist that we know of today. Number 2 is The Underground Railroad by William Still. William Still's family were from the Eastern Shore. I mean, they were from Caroline County. I can't remember if William Still himself was born in Caroline County or not, but his family was from here. Anyway, he was one of the main agents of the Underground Railroad. He worked at the Philadelphia station, and that was the first point of freedom on the Underground Railroad coming from the South. So all of the escaped people went through the Philadelphia station before they went on further north to, New England or to Canada. And each time someone came to the station rather, he recorded their story. So there's lots of great information, particularly from the Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia area, which is the greater Chesapeake region. There are lots of stories in there and information to learn more about what life was like for them and, how they escaped. I mean, these stories are incredible. So I recommend you read that. That was published in 1871. The third book is A History of African Americans of Delaware and Maryland's Eastern Shore. This book has various authors, and it was edited by Carole C. Marks. You can find the PDF online for free if you want to read it. It's a quick read, not too long. I think it's like 200 pages, so not so quick maybe, but it's an easy read. This is a good resource. It definitely includes information about people from Maryland, but it predominantly has information about people from Delaware. So if you're interested particularly in Delaware history, please, definitely read this. But like I said, it does include information on Maryland's Eastern Shore as well. And Delaware borders the Eastern Shore of Maryland, so there's always cross connections between the states. So the information is important regardless. And that was published in 1996. Fourth book is one that I just discovered recently. It's called The Chesapeake Bay Through Ebony Eyes. This is by Vincent O. Leggett. It tells the story of the Black watermen and families who work and live on the water on the Chesapeake Bay. So it has stories, photograph, map, and even recipes, like seafood recipes. Maryland is known for our seafood, particularly oysters and crabs, and we have an assortment of fish, but oysters and crabs, blue crabs, are a thing here. So there's many recipes in the book that you'd enjoy, and like I said, it tells a story of a particular subgroup of the larger Black Eastern Shore community, which is the people who worked on the Chesapeake Bay, and it features stories from both sides of the bay, so the Eastern Shore of the bay and the Western Shore of the bay as well. Number 5, and the next 3 books will be from the same author, Dr. Clara Small. She was a history professor at Salisbury University. She is now retired. So she has published 3 books in the past 10 years. The first one is Men of Color from the Lower Eastern Shore Who Served in the Civil War. She documents all the Black soldiers who fought for freedom, their freedom, and the freedom of other Black people, not to preserve the Union, but they fought for freedom during the Civil War. And she particularly focuses on the lower counties. Then in 2014, that was published in 2010. In 2014, she wrote the first volume of Compass Points, Profiles and Biographies of African Americans on Delmarva's Peninsula. So this is volume 1. It has maybe 50 to 60 biographies and biographies of prominent Black people from throughout the history of the Eastern Shore. I don't know if there's anybody from colonial times, but maybe, but definitely from the 1700s up to the end of the 20th century. And then, so that's volume 1. Volume 2 was released in 2017, which is, again, more biographies. So those are some books to help you start your journey to learning more about Eastern Shore history. I will be back later in this month with more resources, but happy Black History Month. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Peace.